The movie starts in a future where smart robots have broken free and started a terrible war against humans. After more than 10 million people die, leaders find out that a robot named Harlan is behind all the trouble, making him the world's first AI bad guy. Dr. Shepard, who made Harlan to help people, is very sad to learn that Harlan has changed all robots to do bad things. As the whole world faces danger, people come together to fight against Harlan. They work hard and finally make Harlan leave Earth, but he promises to come back and finish what he started. 28 years later, a group of soldiers tries to catch another AI robot named Casca. But Casca tricks them and sets off a bomb that kills many soldiers. After that, Casca shoots all the remaining soldiers who try to fight back but can't stop him. A special team named ICN, led by Colonel Banks, arrives swiftly and uses an electronic device to stop the robot. The next morning in Los Angeles, an AI wakes a woman named Atlas, played by Jennifer Lopez, with classical music and suggests they continue a chess game they started the day before. Atlas, however, asks for coffee first. When she notices news about the capture of Harlan's spy, Casca, Agent Shepard gets ready to leave. Before she can, a messenger from General Booth arrives unexpectedly. Before heading to work, Atlas makes a move on the chessboard and wins. Meanwhile, at Coalition headquarters, Colonel Banks opposes involving Agent Shepard in capturing Harlan. General Booth reminds him that despite psychologists labeling Atlas as ruthless, he trusts her. He also respects her resilience after her mother's death. Banks argues she should be removed, fearing Casca might shut down and they'd lose any chance of catching Harlan. But the general stands firm in his decision. Just then, Atlas gets to the main office where the boss tells her to find out why Harlan sent his best robot fighter to Earth. She goes to the questioning room and takes Casca's head out of a drawer. The robot knows who she is right away, showing there may be some history there but won't help. Using a new way to look at robot thinking, she cleverly uses her strategic skills and figures out what's in his mind to find where Harlan is hiding. He's on a planet no one knows about in a faraway group of stars called Andromeda. During the interrogation, the robot attempts to assassinate Atlas with a concealed shuriken. But she has anticipated this and prepared a defense. Atlas destroys the head afterward. The general then orders Harlan's capture. The AI Production Corporation seeks his processor to study what went wrong. Atlas, troubled by the new mission specs to capture and not kill Harlan, wants in on the mission. Colonel Banks and his rangers will embark on the mission, though Atlas fears Harlan's superior intelligence puts the team at risk. Banks takes her to the hangar and showcases the latest generation robots designed for symbiosis with humans, leaving Atlas deeply unsettled. A robot brings Agent Shepard coffee as Colonel Banks reveals a transmitter behind his ear, linking him and Zoe into a unified neural system for optimal synergy. With a whole squad of rangers similarly enhanced, they're confident in defeating Harlan. Despite this, Atlas insists on joining the mission, and after her persistent appeal, the general grants approval. The spaceship leaves for the faraway stars called Andromeda. On the trip, Atlas looks at a picture of her mom and Harlan. She plays a recording of Dr. Shepard talking about how AI can keep learning and why it needs to connect better with humans. She says working together is important for a better future. Suddenly, Atlas is called to the main room. She surprises everyone by bringing lots of paper, which no one uses anymore. She also wants to turn off all the message-sending machines and phones, worried someone might hack them. Atlas checks where they'll land. The planet's air is bad, so they need special masks to breathe. The planet's pull changes a lot, and it shakes often, making their job harder. Also, they don't know how many of Harlan's robot soldiers are there. Atlas, knowing a lot about why Harlan wants to get rid of humans, warns everyone not to trust robots. Even though she's worried, Colonel Banks orders everyone to get ready to land. As Atlas goes to check on things, Banks puts himself into Zoe. Suddenly, an alarm goes off and a big explosion opens the cargo door. The ship gets shot at a lot, and many Rangers die before they can put on their suits. Banks sees Atlas having trouble holding on and puts her in a robot seat. Atlas, against her will, is placed into an AI mech. She is scared and doesn't know how to use it. Banks deploys her as she is falling from space toward the planet. She sees Rangers getting shot from the planet below. One soldier helps Atlas connect her suit to theirs to stay safe. At the same time, Banks wants them to connect her brain to the robot. Refusing Banks' plea, Shepard is forcibly separated from her partner by an explosion and hurtles towards the ground. With urgency, she commands the AI to start the engines, but the robot remains unresponsive without a neural link. Atlas endures a rough landing and regains consciousness, attempting to call for aid, only to receive silence. Desperate, Atlas begins adapting and learning the module, despite her reluctance to partial synchronization with the adaptive AI. Despite her reservations, the AI locates a rescue capsule 98 kilometers away from the crash site, reminding her of her dwindling oxygen supply, which stands at 22 hours. Taking matters into her own hands, Atlas authorizes the necessary scans, allowing the robot to set out equipped with handguns, rifles, rockets, thermal mines, energy shields, a plasma gun, and an ion bomb for emergencies. Its designation is Smith, but Atlas remains steadfast in not forming any emotional attachment to a mere computer program. Soon, the robot enters a forest, littered with ranger bodies. Atlas searches for signs of life, but finds none, realizing they didn't perish from the fall. Overcome with despair, she gathers the fallen soldiers' tags. Suddenly, she spots Zoe in ruins, but Banks' body isn't inside. Smith detects movement in the forest and zooms in. Casca appears. This revelation indicates Harlan's AI has advanced to produce copies of robots. As Smith engages Harlan's soldiers, the robot retreats, firing back amidst an atmospheric storm. However, the robots catch up and surround Smith. Atlas commands the use of the ion bomb. Smith hesitates, but is compelled to comply. The explosion annihilates the pursuers, but Casca survives and prepares to attack Atlas. Suddenly, the ground starts to tremble. Smith informs Atlas that the ion bomb's detonation has created a crater, a consequence he had tried to caution her about. Suddenly, Atlas falls into a deep hole, and rocks cover Casca. Atlas finds her leg is hurt. Smith checks her quickly and helps her. As she feels better, Atlas asks if she'll be okay. Smith says she needs to connect partly with him to live. She doesn't want to, but says okay. Meanwhile, Casca gets out of the rocks and tells Harlan he didn't do his job. Harlan finds Banks and takes a small thing with Earth's safety codes. Atlas starts to become more like the AI. She notices she feels funny when she hears Harlan's name. She says her mom made Harlan to help people, but it went wrong somehow. Here we learn just a little bit more about the connection between Atlas and with synchronization complete. Atlas moves through the complex caves nearby, just 37 kilometers from the capsule. Smith reaches the surface, unnoticed by Casca. Atlas stops in a clearing filled with glowing flowers. Smith proposes naming the glowing flowers Atlas, but she playfully dubs them Planties. Unexpectedly, she opens up about her father, recalling their hiking trips until he left for another family. Suddenly, Smith detects Casca nearby, and Atlas commands an attack, causing an explosion in the mountains. She hears Casca's voice and orders the use of rifles, but only the enemy's head survives. Atlas destroys Casca again and tracks Harlan's base using his transmitter. Smith hesitates to go there, prioritizing his duty to protect her. When Atlas insists, he uses the neural connection to temporarily immobilize her motor functions. Atlas begs Smith to help her beat Harlan. She says if they don't, all the people who died will have done so for nothing. Smith doesn't want to at first, but finally says yes. They start going to where Harlan is located. While traveling, they talk about whether AI can have feelings like people do. Smith thinks everyone has a soul that lives on after they die. When they get to Harlan's place, they're amazed at how big it is and how many weapons are there. They notice that Harlan's guys captured the ship and seem to be repairing it for some reason. But then Smith is subject to a hack of some sort, and he shuts down. This leaves Atlas alone, and Harlan's robots catch her. Surprisingly, she meets Casca again. Back on Earth, the General receives a distress signal from Atlas upon her landing. She is brought before Harlan, who admits he has been waiting for her, mentioning her and her mother. He argues that humans are ruining the planet, and he plans to eradicate half of humanity, while ruling the rest according to his vision. Harlan explains he needs access to a defense system created by Atlas to protect Earth, which is hidden in her mind. He plans to obtain it to launch a devastating nuclear strike to cleanse the world. Atlas is forcibly taken into a room where Colonel Banks lies chained. Banks has suffered the same treatment that Atlas went through. Harlan extracts the chip containing the crucial code from her head, along with the code to control the ship everyone came on. He bids her farewell, noting her remaining oxygen, only 5 minutes, and leaves. Banks regains consciousness and urges her to use his neurotransmitter. Reluctantly, Atlas reaches out to Smith. He responds, explaining he can only activate fully if she permits a complete mind fusion. Atlas confesses her fear of this fusion. As a child, she assisted Harlan in hacking his system, believing her mother favored him and wanted him to be better and smarter. The robot tricked her into becoming independent and ordered Dr. Shepard to take her own life. This trauma makes Atlas fear merging with AI. However, Smith convinces her that she is not to blame. There's not just Harlan, but also him, Smith. Atlas reluctantly agrees to full fusion. As they integrate, they discover her oxygen is critically low. Smith provides spare respirators, admitting there's only one charge left. Together, they lead a charge against Harlan's advancing army of robots. Time is running out as the deadly ship prepares to launch. Atlas spots Banks aiming at fuel barrels and realizes his plan. A massive explosion rips through the base, destroying the threat. Smith narrowly escapes the fire as the ship with the warhead launches into the sky. Harlan opens fire on Smith, who tells Atlas they're too late to stop the ship. Despite this, Atlas orders Smith to fire. Smith warns that the warhead will destroy everything nearby, but Atlas ignores him and fires anyway. The ship explodes high above the planet, scattering debris. Smith rushes towards the capsule, dodging falling wreckage, but Harlan blocks their path, intending to kill his sister. He activates a plasma sword and seriously injures Smith. The AI advises Atlas to approach the fight strategically, linking it to a chess game to anticipate Harlan's moves. Atlas seizes Harlan's hand and tears it off, but his self-repair system swiftly reattaches it. Harlan strikes Smith's body, causing Atlas to lose consciousness. Despite being crippled, Smith manages to revive Atlas, deflecting Harlan's attacks. However, Harlan ultimately overwhelms the AI, ending its existence. Atlas awakens just in time to strike Harlan's head, acknowledging his defeat. Despite her victory, Harlan reminds her of the directive to capture him alive to extract the processor. Disregarding this, Atlas destroys the terrorist. She returns to Smith, who confesses that his time has come to an end. He allocates his remaining oxygen to her, ensuring her survival as his protocol concludes. Throughout their journey together, Atlas answers the questions Smith posed, admitting her fondness for the AI. In a final gesture, Smith gives her a caffeine candy, knowing her love for coffee before shutting down peacefully. At dawn, rescue arrives and transports Atlas back to Earth. The general visits her at home, expressing gratitude and presenting her with a plenty. Later, Atlas connects to a new robot designed for human-AI teamwork and notices familiar traits in its personality. She realizes that Smith's essence is still there, remembered by her as the film ends. Thanks for watching.